After failing to break the fortifications of the Kaunas line, General Guderian has redirected his forces south for an attempted breakthrough into Odessa. In addition to Guderian's panzer forces, 90 divisions of the German and Austrian armies have been amassed along the Dniester River, launching into full-scale offensive operations across the whole line of contact from Brest-Litovsk to Odessa. Aware of the danger, Denikin and Markov decided to rapidly transfer the 12th Army's anti-tank divisions and the 5th Army Special Forces to the embattled lines, supported by Stefan's understrength 6th Army as operational reserves. The directive was given to hold the bridges across the Dniester if possible, and to destroy them if necessary to stop Reichspakt advances. With ice and snow receding into spring, the pitched battle for Odessa would decide if Russia's army, critically short of equipment, could hold the line. We are indeed seeing a combined number of 91 divisions against roughly 40 divisions, so a 2-to-1 superiority across the lines here. In sheer numbers, we're seeing a lot of Dutch infantry here as well. The Austrian tank divisions are here, and Guderian's panzers are here, attacking across the whole line. So we are at this point desperately trying to hold positions, especially to hold Odessa, because that is obviously a critical supply position, which is currently somewhat overloaded actually. But if Odessa were to fall, there's simply no supply. There's simply no supply until Mykolaiv, and the northern sector would probably have to be given up, and we would have to retreat to the next potential fallback line. However, we're concentrating all possible forces that have arrived in the theater, and obviously the problem being that they have to organize things first after coming off the trains, which makes things a little bit more difficult. But we've got what forces we have available to us trying to stop the advance of the enemy panzer divisions. And I think, especially Odessa will need additional troops. So we've got the 59th and 67th Mountain, and I think I will already begin just deploying them there, while the 60th Mountain is going to reinforce the sector here in the north. And then we will attempt to hold. We've got a second potential breakthrough near the outer defense ring of Rivne. But we've got a few divisions from that we can fall back from the 7th Army here to reinforce that. We would have potentially, now that the northern line has been somewhat stripped, we would potentially have opportunities here for a counterattack out of Kaunas. The problem is we don't have enough troops here because we're at rough parity numerically. So we've got we're roughly at parity here. And the Germans are heavily bombing the Baltic states. So with the current equipment shortages, and they are relatively severe, although we are looking decent on infantry equipment, I might actually be able to slowly, that actually speeds it up a bit, to slowly reduce. But I do like 15 factories on infantry equipment, just to make sure that we have enough in the field for losses, but we may be able to take a few factories off this because we've got a pretty good production efficiency at this point. That we are producing enough rifles, so there we have a bit of a buffer, which means we could technically support a slightly higher resistance. Right now, the resistance targets are somewhere around 7 to 8% ish. Which is very manageable, but we are running under martial law. So if we were to lower this, then let's say for Ukraine, for example. So right now, the next best position would be a military governor, which would give us slightly more manpower availability, which we don't need, because available manpower is not the problem; it's equipment that we're lacking. But it would reduce the resistance modifier by 25%. So we would probably be looking at a round about 20%-ish resistance, which is then going to get close to cascading modifiers, which will very quickly eat into the available equipment for garrisons. So I'm going to leave that as is and focus on just trying to hold. We may have to, given the situation in the air, if we're moving the Air Force north over the Baltic state positions to try and deal with the bombers there. Otherwise, we might have to move the railway guns out. However, it might actually be prudent to move one of the railway guns towards Odessa. That is going to take a while for it to get there. But in general, to have one available there might not be a terrible idea. And since we're not currently doing any offensive operations, I might pull the other one over towards Rivne to help with the defense there against enemy concentrations. We are losing trains in the north to logistics strikes, which is unsurprising, given that they have begun significantly. They have begun bombing buildings, troops, and obviously trains and trucks as well. Although I think on trains we should have a reasonable stockpile. Actually, it's not that large. So we've got 54 trains in stock. Excuse my voice. I'm a little under the weather. Yeah, we've got a few trains left, but it's not actually that much. How many do we? We do need another. We are building armored trains. We do need another factory here to come in, but so we might actually prioritize that here, just to make sure that gets fulfilled. And yes, obviously the big problem is we can't get the industry towards building more manufacturing because we're currently trying to stabilize the front lines. Which takes priority, unfortunately, as things stand. So we've got the 6th Army, which is relatively under strength. So a lot of these are somewhere around the mid-80s, the mid-80 percentages, and most shortages are in actual light tanks, which makes it a little difficult for them to be operational. But we're using this as an operational reserve. So if there is a breakthrough, then we can rapidly counterattack with the tank divisions at hand here. And but I might need some a little closer towards Odessa here, just to make sure that if Odessa, I'm actually going to extend that line here. So if Odessa were to fall, then I like to have some tank divisions available for an immediate counterattack, because that is the critical vector. So I think that's a better distribution here. Other than that, we have everything aligned up. And the air experience doesn't really help us anything at this point. We do need, however, to fill up our military high command. So I am thinking of giving where is he? Of giving General Stefan the armor expert role. So that is going to enable us to get him, but not yet, because I think he's going to be too expensive. Where is he? He should be. Oh, there it is. No, actually, due to the staff guy, it's not too bad. So we're going to get Boris Stefan set up as the armor expert, and then we can use the last political power to get ourselves a theorist. And I think we could use the land doctrine, actually, because we still, despite the fact that we're actually almost done with the superior firepower, we still have the special forces doctrines to do for the mountain divisions. And I think I said I need about 45 Army XP to begin designing the stormtrooper divisions that we're going to be using towards Riga. So right now we're putting all our forces, we're bringing all our forces to bear for the desperate defense of Odessa. Can we purchase anything on the international market that we actually need? I don't need rifles. There is a bit of support equipment available, so we'll buy what we can on the market, because every little bit helps. Other than that, we would need anti-air guns here, a few that we could get as well. So we'll take these two. Artillery we don't necessarily need, but everything else, yeah, there's a bit more support equipment. So we'll designate a few factories worth of output for purchases, and see that we will get some deliveries from India, I believe, as well. All right, let's continue here. I will have to go slowly because I have to actually focus on the various attacks here. The purchase requests have been accepted, and specifically here, how long is it going to take these divisions to get there? 6 hours. We should be able to hold. Okay, we've reinforced the lines here. We brought in fresh divisions against this Austrian attack here, and now we just have to hold at Odessa. But I think we'll be mostly able to defeat this assault. Okay, the assault on the north has already broken. That just leaves 2 infantry divisions here. Yeah, I think we've held Odessa with deploying the reinforcements towards the lines. And once the need for a counterattack here is alleviated, I can redeploy the 6th Army north again. I would prefer not to use them offensively for now, but if there are opportunities ideally to break through towards Memel and cut off the whole northern sector here and secure, significantly shorten the lines and secure the Baltics, but I am going to need, I would say, at least the 6th Army at strength to make this happen. Potentially also a few more divisions from other sectors. We do have a bit of reinforcement now from the 10th Army of Foreign Volunteers, but they are of questionable combat efficiency. How is the air situation looking like? Okay, so we've got the Air Force deployed, and we're beginning to put a stop to the bombings. However, they are beginning to reinforce the air over Ukraine, which is going to make the work harder for these close air support wings. So we'll stop the bombings there because we don't want to have them all shot down. We're currently 100% concentrated on fighter production, but we're actually running increasing deficits, trying to get things to work. And we might even need, with the shortage of support equipment, current shortage. A lot of this is obviously from deployments, but the division reinforcement as well is a major factor here. So let's see if we can. Let's see how things are going. Okay, so troops are redeploying along the lines here, and I think Guderian's tanks are once again leaving. The big question would be, where are they heading and what are they doing next? The Germans are running a very flexible mobile warfare here, where they rapidly redeploy their tank forces to other places, and by the time we get there, they have already begun their attacks. So it's very hard for us to counter that without sufficient numbers of anti-tank divisions. And, we don't have the anti-tank guns. That's part of the problem here. Again, artillery. How are we on artillery? We're good on artillery, so we don't need to convert any equipment. But anti-tank guns obviously are a part of the problem. We're going to need 10 factories on anti-tank guns as well. I am going to prioritize the armored trains over that for now, just to make sure that we can disable that, because I think we have countered that, but that's very small numbers. Yeah, we're countering the enemy bombers quite effectively, but losses on fighters are at par at this point, and that is mostly due to simply also the quality of enemy aircraft. We're still fielding a few very old planes, but replacements will come in. Okay, so the big question becomes now, where is Guderian going? Where is he going to assault next? Are we going to see tanks in the Kaunas line again? And where do we need to counter? Right now, I don't see tank divisions on the front lines at all. So unless we know where they are, we can't counter them. No, we've still got panzer divisions coming in here. But most of these are the Austrians, actually, at this point. Don't know where the German tank armies have been redeployed. Guderian likes to surprise us with these sort of things. But for now, I think we've got additional troops as well coming in slowly. We can somewhat focus on the air situation, especially in the north here. It's quite critical that our forces are operating at maximum efficiency. And yeah, the Germans are shifting significant numbers of aircraft into the area that I'm going to make it harder and harder to counter. All right, I think the initial necessity for a counterattack near Odessa has been removed. So I'm going to redeploy Stefan once more. And send him. Okay, I think we're starting to see panzers in the north again. There's a single panzer division. We've got a 27th spotted here along the lines, but that by itself doesn't say much yet. If we don't know where they're concentrating, no sign of Guderian along the lines for now. But I'll probably get. That means I'll probably get the 6th Army concentrated in a more central position to ensure that we have them available for counterattacks wherever they're needed along the front lines here. We're not yet going into the offensive simply because we don't have the equipment for it. I am getting a little worried about the number of trains. So I believe actually we might need 5 factories on trains. Can we purchase trains specifically because they're not bombing here? They're doing some bombing attacks here, but it's very few. We might actually just divert one of maybe 2. Can we get a few of the older fighter divisions? We're going to get these 3 sent to Ukraine and deal with the bombings there, which is further weakening our attempts against German aircraft here to hold the lines of German air over all these positions. Okay, so the attacks against Odessa haven't ceased yet. We still see German tanks along the lines, but they are. They're somewhat overcrowding now supply-wise, and yes, they're trying to do combined arms offensives at this point. Sporadic attacks against Kaunas, but not much happening there. So with that, I think we can take a bit of a broader look across the world now. After 2 decades, the fires of revolution have once and for all been extinguished. Despite overwhelming odds, the French exiles have successfully retaken the metropole. Thanks to the cooperation of their allies and an incredible national mobilization effort, they have outmaneuvered those who stood in their way. Immense celebrations are being planned, particularly in Paris, where a parade on the Champs-Élysées for troops of the whole Entente will take place. However, the French people remain deeply divided. Some welcome the exiles as liberators, others lament the fall of the Commune, and most are simply in shock, exhausted by the war, their lives upended for the 2nd time in a generation. The civil war is only nominally over. The wounds it opened will take many years to heal. So the interesting question now becomes, and I think that's something we're going to have to take a look at on the current wars. So on the official Second Weltkrieg, it is only a war between the Entente and the Reichspakt against the Third International. We are technically in a separate war, in the Russian-German war, which is the Moscow Accord, Co-Prosperity Sphere, and this Third International against the Reichspakt by itself, but not the Entente. So the Entente hasn't actually joined on I don't know if this is a bug or not, but the Entente hasn't actually joined against us. They are, however, attacking the Third International. So with that, we're mostly just, we're not actually dealing any damage against Entente shipping in the Atlantic, which was kind of the idea in the first place. The other wars that are going on, Brazil seems to be losing rapidly against Argentina, and that means a right-wing national populist support for the Reichspakt is beginning to take over South America, which has interesting future implications. Middle Africa, the Persians are fighting wars now in Middle Africa. We're not getting involved because we simply don't have the troops to do anything. And by the looks of it, the war in China has become a stalemate. I am wondering how Japan is doing, how Japan's naval war in the Pacific is doing. Unfortunately, we don't have much intel on this. What we can have a look at, however, is the overall number of ships. So Japan has actually a reasonably small navy, I would almost argue. So somewhere between 120 and 208 ships. But it is still significantly larger than the German East Asian Navy, which means that I would say Japan probably has at least control over the sea regions in the Sea of Japan, East China Sea, and the Yellow Sea. Which means I'm not entirely certain why they're not launching naval invasions behind Chinese lines. If they do that, I think the Chinese front will rapidly collapse. So not sure what they're up to there. We have troops deployed along the lines here, and these need balanced cohesion. But yeah, we have deployed some troops along the lines here just in case there is any further trouble. Although I would like a little bit more of I would like a few more divisions on the east here. So let's see if we can pull a few here and there that we can send further east. All right. So at least this region is somewhat organized. Although we have supply issues here. Let's have a quick look. It's just that single position, so I think we're simply going to not be there, and this is pretty much inaccessible anyway. So we'll stay further north, and that should there we go. That should get these divisions to move up, and then everything should get somewhat better. All right, we'll observe, and we'll have to keep a very close eye on the redeployment of the German panzer divisions. Unless Guderian has decided that they're not breaking our lines and has pulled them off the front, which would be much welcome, because we really do need a reprieve to fortify the front lines and to deal with the massive shortages of equipment. Okay, Oslo hasn't fallen, and we have the Putilovets, which we are using for tanks, I believe. Yes, which we're using for tanks. So what can we actually still take here? I think it's the last one here, really, that we can. We're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Have we taken this? No. So we can't take this yet. So we're still one short. So we've got the improved dozer equipment, which gives improved entrenchment. And then lastly, once we've completed this, do we have an interesting policy here? Now that we actually have a little bit of political power that we don't immediately need, do we have a policy here that can make things a bit better? Improved external equipment would give 50% fuel capacity. That's pretty good. That's funds gain. That is production efficiency cap. That will also be pretty good. Vertical integration. That's resources. That's reliability. That's the research bonus. That's 5% armor. That's 2% hardness, and that would be production efficiency. That's defense and breakthrough, and that's just making stuff on the cheap. We're not making stuff on the cheap, so I'm thinking 50% fuel capacity is pretty neat. That means I don't need to put fuel drums on the tanks if we are moving out into... we're moving in Europe, which generally has enough supply. So I'm thinking of the production efficiency cap or of getting better armor. We have... yeah, that's defense breakthrough. That's production efficiency. That's hardness. 5% armor would be nice. It's not a massive value, but I think our heavy tanks are probably armored to the point where we don't actually even need that. Let's have a quick look. So we've got the RV-1A, which has 139 armor, so that'd be like 7 points roughly. We've got the RV-2A and the big howitzer with a monstrous, I think it's 150 millimeter cannon on that thing. That one's got 153 armor, so it's even more heavily armored than the actual tanks. So again, that would be a fair few points. I don't think they can pierce that. I mean, that's not going to be the division, but the whole division, despite the fact that I've actually got leg infantry here, not trucks or mechanized, has almost 100 armor. I don't think they get through that, so I don't think we need to. Which means we can, if we go to the where was the MIO? There we go. I'm not sure if that was the shortest route, which means I think assembly line optimization is the way to go. Especially that means it becomes effective immediately, and we don't need to do anything else. All right, back to the lines where we are. Oh, there's been a naval battle. We have lost a convoy. Why are we sending convoys through the Black Sea, and why is no one doing anything about it? I don't think we are sending convoys through here. At least I don't see that happening. But we may actually have to get the Blacks. We can use them as convoy escorts. But we have the fuel for that. So we'll use them for convoy escorts. I had them on strike force, so that should technically have been supporting that. We don't have access, obviously, through the Bosporus, no, I'll leave them on strike force. That makes more sense to me. I don't see why we're sending convoys through there anyway, so that shouldn't be happening. All right, so for now, the sporadic assaults along the lines in the north here. They're trying to hit Kaunas relatively hard. There is the occasional panzer division coming in, but I'm not seeing any kind of concentrated efforts. They're still sort of concentrating along the Odessa front, but I think with the reinforcements of the mountain divisions, we should have the Odessa front under wraps here. I don't think they will break through there. So we've still got 2 panzer divisions trying to break here, as well as 3 Austrian tank divisions. But the Austrian tanks are not good. They're very thinly armored, nothing like the German panzers, the German Panzer force. But we do have even the mountain divisions can deal significant damage, even though they don't have the sufficient piercing. But they can get through with the artillery and direct fire and the anti-air. They can get through the armor of the Austrians. So that's a relatively low threat attack here, which makes me look at the air again. Okay. We are most definitely in a. Okay, we've got some aircraft here. Currently, the biggest air war is happening on the Baltic states. So we're most definitely in a situation where we're dealing with the German air resources significantly, and we will challenge them in the air as much as we can. All right, still assaults along the lines in Odessa, but I think at this point the lines are actually holding, and we are getting the Indian divisions coming into the lines now as well. All of these can and should use. We're going to send them to Dvinsk, and then they can redeploy from there. And we've got these ones as well. Where are they coming in? Okay, we'll send these to Vilnius. and then they can deploy from there along the front lines. All right, so the Germans have reinforced the northern lines here significantly, which were left very weak. We just didn't have the troops available to break out from there. And they have seized assaults along the lines in the center, which is good news. So it's just the Odessa front that they're currently attacking here. And there we've now got support from the artillery in the north of Odessa. So these attacks are desperate and short-lived, but they're still not giving our troops much of an opportunity to dig in. We've got another ace pilot. Let's have a quick review of our air force. That's still insignificant, that we're shooting down, and that we're challenging. But if we have a quick look at our air wings, I think they should all be having ace pilots deployed. No, we actually have a few unassigned ace pilots. So we can, and these wings actually can get ace pilots assigned to them as well, despite the fact that they're using old aircraft, simply because production isn't keeping up. How are we doing with the fortification lines? We're getting, the problem with the Odessa fortification is the constant assault. So while we're being constantly attacked here, the fortification works obviously cannot proceed, but we're seeing friendly Azerbaijani divisions running suicide attacks into things, but we'll stay on the defensive, and I think we have stabilized the lines at this point, and we're inflicting painful losses to the enemy for not much gain on at all. So if we're looking at that, it's a very disproportionate kill-death ratio that we're seeing along the front lines now, and this is what we were looking for, to ensure that the enemy does not break through until we can go back onto the offensive. And we're not going back onto the offensive, especially with the light tanks, until we have somewhat organized the supply of them. We're actually having an Indian tank division here now in Vilnius, although that's not under my control. So that is actually under direct Indian control. And we are shooting down enemy aces as well, which is good news. Now, one thing we need to keep a bit of an eye on is war support. So for the combat casualties along the line here are starting to cause significant issues, which should relieve itself somewhat, but we may at some point have to run a bit of propaganda where we could... we don't need more mines in the Baltics, although I do have it. Why not? Just run more. It just costs command power, which I have enough of. This is the extortion of heroism would work, or we could utilize we could start running some domestic 10% base war support. That's pretty good. So that would be an option to get the industry behind us. This is all. This would be still good, just to get market liberalism more popular. But we still also got industrial concern and theorists to fill, so we still got a few more things to do. Anyway, for now, we'll sit back and observe the situation along the front lines, especially the Odessa situation, where I think the anti-tank forces are going to start making significant impacts. Although these assaults here are more serious. Yeah, still 2 German panzer divisions involved here. So we do have to keep an eye that we are maintaining the... Okay, I think we're now overcrowding Odessa a little. We do need to keep an eye on things there as well. Let's get these 2 divisions on the onto the northern front. Yeah, that is a little bit too weak here. We can divert, because we're currently not seeing tank attacks there. We'll divert some tank divisions that are rested to make sure we're holding the lines. This is not out of the woods yet by far. What's going on? Yes, we are shooting down German aces relatively successfully. This is not out of the woods yet. So we won't celebrate the defense too early, especially with the relatively heavy tank assaults here. But we've now got two additional anti-tank divisions that we can throw into the lines, and with that, I think we will be able to hold that. No sign of the rest of Guderian's forces, so I'm almost suspecting that he's pulled them off the line after facing some painful losses on the attacks, and is using them, say, in Spain or in Italy. Interestingly enough, the French Republic is now dealing with a massive with an uprising near around Grenoble, and they're still holding Marseille and Toulon, but they're cut off now, and the British forces, resistance forces, probably operating out of Italy, are starting to push back into the French Republic. So it's entirely possible that things are going sideways for the new republic rapidly, and at which point I would almost assume that the German Empire would have to go in again at some way. All right, another thing I wanted to check is, okay, we've got two more hulls of the Vitebsk class to refit. We'll get a notification because I'm simply going to get the unused dockyards notification to see where. Then we'll know that 9 transports, 9 convoys. That's painful. How many do the Germans have? What do we know about the German Navy? Not an awful lot. That might even be not a naval factor. Yeah, not sure. No, they've got plenty. But what I'm looking for is a potential breakout into the Baltic Sea and begin controlling the Baltics with the Black Sea Fleet. But I would love to have a bit more of a refit still of especially of the old ships. But I think that is going to take a very long time if we were to do this. So let's have a quick look at this, at least theoretically, what that would look like. So if we're looking at the battleships, and obviously we have to show the out. We've got the Ismails, the Imperatia Maria, and the Sevastopols. They're all on the same hull base, so we could get everything up to the Ismail class refitted, although that would take a while. And we do have a battleship carrier designer. Not seeing that we'd be using carriers at all, or we're going with the more general one, which does not. Yeah, there's not an awful lot of choices here. This is mostly production, by the looks of it. So this would, we'll assign it just to see. We don't have improved armor yet, so we'll just upgrade everything that's just the AA, which isn't really helping anyone. The secondaries are already where they should be. We could try to, we've got a speed of 22 knots, which is terrible. If we were to slot another heavy battery onto it, that would give it significantly more firepower, and I would love to get the armor up, because right now we're using a 200mm belt, which is almost more like a battle cruiser armor. Do we have a research slot freeing up relatively soon? We do. So we could. How long is this going to take? We'll be over here. We've got we could use naval experience to speed that up significantly. It would take 100 days. That would give us the 350mm belt armor. Would be at least somewhat more modern. So that would be an option, and try to get the Ismails upgraded. Not doing this right now simply because we don't have Marines for any kind of naval landings anyway. So, we'll see if we can refit the old battle wagons a little bit. And yeah, we don't have we don't have the technology for new developments anyway. So for now, we'll keep a close eye on the happenings near Odessa and at the air situation, which I will get to that in a second, which is looking how we're trading. Yeah, we're trading almost on par, which is not good because the German industry can produce aircraft a heck of a lot faster than we can. And so these losses, the losses in air battles are not going in our favor, I think. Yeah, we're starting to see significant detriments here. So we might actually have to pull the air wings. I think they're starting to reach 75%. I think we'll have to ground the air wings at this point. We can no longer contest the Germans in the air simply because of attrition. So instead, what we'll do is we'll shoot down enemy aircraft where we can, and not do it where we cannot. Meanwhile, the 3-tier military education has finished. The lack of officers compared to the size of our army has always been holding the Russian army back in our tactical flexibility. We need thorough reform, remove privileges of Juncker schools, create modern European 3-tiered system, and not focus on producing the absolute best officers, but as many qualified and reliable ones as we need. So this costs me 40 political power, but we get 15% army experience gain, extended division training time. That's not an issue right now because the problem is lack of materials, but also reduced losses of experienced soldiers. And all my generals are getting an additional planning skill, so that's good. Now, I did say that we need to deal with the undercurrent of discontent here and with the flagging war support. So I think we'll do the democratic. We are still in a strengthening democracy, and we do need that to be completed. And that's the self-defense of democracy, which does need the democratic curriculum, which is going to anger people on the right. So the unrest at some point will have to be dealt with. But for now, things look all right. We do have 45 army experience, so I believe now it is time to design the Storm Division. Okay, I believe that's what I had in mind. So we've got a 35 combat width because these are meant for urban combat and for breaking enemy fortification positions in urban combat, which is why we're supplying them with 4 battalions of line artillery, plus the support artillery, which is giving 20% fortification attack. We've got the heavy flame tank company in here, and we've got heavy self-propelled artillery behind it as well, which gives them a massive amount of soft attack, and actually a fair amount of armor as well. So that division has an 83% attack bonus modifier against fortifications, which is mostly from the support artillery and from the engineers, which obviously combat engineers make a massive difference when it comes to these attack bonuses. So that's a staple. But other than that, it's optimized for assaulting into urban provinces. So two of these divisions would fill up would fill up the. Actually, it's 80 combat width. I thought it was. Oh no, I thought it was 70. I must have misread that. Okay, but we could still increase that then. I think that's a good size for now. So we get basically we're not completely optimal in combat width against urban positions, but we can also use that against fortifications that are not urban. And with that, the 35, let's say it's a forest. No, that's 60 combat width. Which was 70. Something was 70 combat width. I normally don't pay too much attention to combat width. That was hills. Okay. Anyway, so it's a middle ground, and I don't pay too much attention to these sort of things. But we will save that, And obviously, we are now going to need to actually train up a few of these. So let's get minor priority. And they are going to be in the north. So if we are to take Riga, we're going to need 3 of them. Because we've got 120 total combat width, so we can get 3 of these divisions in there. And so let's train up 3 of them. They're obviously going to be waiting for the heavy flame tanks and for the rest of the equipment, which isn't going to arrive anytime soon. I'm actually going to give them high equipment priority because I would like to get these out of the way as quickly as we can as a specialist army. All right, air situation over Belarus is just fighters, so we don't really need to worry about that. But we can still shoot them down. We're relocating some air wings, and we're simply going to be shooting them down. But we're not currently contesting the Germans over the Baltics, which means we are going to be the victim of the German bombing campaign quite noticeably, which is going to make lose them some aircraft to anti-air, but the divisions on the ground currently need to rely on the anti-aircraft guns. All right, this is still looking critical here with the sheer number. Okay, it looks like Guderian is back. We've got 4 German panzer divisions now here along the lines, so it's good that we've left still not the full force that had been deployed previously, but it's good that we've left the troops in place here. I'm still not happy with the being overweight on Odessa itself, because that is not taking not taking that many tank divisions. This assault here is mostly infantry. So get me another anti-tank division over here, please, and make sure that we have enough firepower to stop the Germans there in their truck before we do anything else. These divisions, let's get them down here actually. Odessa looks all right currently, but man, are they viciously okay. Now they're taking on the northern position here, but this infantry is very well dug in. I don't think they get anywhere. They're not going to do an awful lot of damage. All right, we've got a naval battle result. It looks like nope, there was actually so our submarines have sunk enemy convoys, and German submarines had been spotted in the area. So Arne's Lightning had joined that battle and did some damage to the enemy submarines and chased them away. So that's good to know that the Brits have our back here, and we have 3 dockyards, which means that we're almost done with the Vitebsk refits. Which means we are probably going to let's have a quick look. What are we could. So I'm still going to need the refits on the big guns. But what we can do is we can get the Baltic Fleet to run some naval exercises with the newly added Egyptian forces. And we've also still got the Admiral Ushakov class light cruiser. We've only got 2 of them, but they need some exercise as well. So we might actually run naval exercises in the Gulf of Finland for now. And in the meantime, until we have, how are we on research? We're 5 days away, but then if we are to research better armor plating, it's still going to take another 100 days. So I think for the meantime, we might, do we have enough convoys? We've got more than enough convoys. We might actually build, see if we can build ourselves another Admiral Ushakov. Now let's have a quick look and see, is there any improvement to be made? Better AA, 8 naval XP will take it. So these gun cruisers. So let's get another Admiral Ushakov built in the meantime, and once that's complete, then the rest of them. Well, we'll focus. We'll let the last refit go here. That isn't that urgent, but instead we're building another one of the Admiral Ushakovs as quickly as possible, which is going to be finished in August, which sort of lines up with potential refits and other things. So slight naval expansion there, but we do now have to. Okay, they're running serious assaults here against the lines near Kobrin. The problem here is that this is mostly regular infantry, and the problem that I have with the regular infantry divisions, well, they do have one line artillery. They're 9-1s. They're actually fine. They don't have the flame tanks, but that's about it. Other than that, I think the difference isn't that great between these two. Yeah, they're relatively similar. So they should be able to hold that reasonably well. Here is a spirited assault, but we do have armored divisions to help out there if needed. And here in the north, we do have to keep a bit of an eye, but I think that infantry attack isn't going to get anywhere. The bigger question is, how far are we along with construction? Yeah, we're still struggling to actually get the fortifications built, simply because the constant attacks along the line of contact are causing us difficulties here. Right, green air over Ukraine, that's important. So we've got some fighters active here to keep them under wraps. And we're shooting down enemy fighters over Belarus. I'm actually going to redeploy the other ones here too. Okay, interrogation techniques have completed, which means we can probably, what else do we need? We're not using them in anti-partisan operations right now. That would be additional intelligence gathered. That would be sabotage. That would be psychological warfare is not bad, because that improves the compliance growth. So let's get that done as well. Other than that, our operatives are deployed along the countries here, trying to ensure that we know what's going on in the lines. I might get Smirnova. No, I can't really get it to Bessarabia. So, all right. So I will just again focus on Odessa, where we are still getting a few more reinforcements coming in. So I think that is going to finally seal the deal here. Now that the Fifth Army is arriving in force across the line, and we're holding back the assaults. This is a friendly, spirited attack by an Indian armored division trying to break the German defenders here, but we simply don't have the troops along the line for an assault here yet. And again, as much as the comment section might disagree with me there, I am not sending the Sixth Army out we are overloading supply here a little. I might redeploy the Sixth Army further north then, just to save on further towards Minsk maybe, where we might have a little bit more supply while they are getting refit, getting re-equipped. Yeah, we're good on supply in the north, so I'm going to stop overloading the frontline supply positions. Venezia is running low on supply as well. We are going to need to improve the situation here, because we can't get enough food, ammunition, and medical supplies towards the front lines, where the heavy enemy assaults are still launching. Still keeping an eye out for Guderian's tanks, but not seeing an awful lot right now, where we could make a difference, or where we would need to redeploy defenses. Okay, we're starting to get close to 90%, and the 45 millimeter. That was, I think that is some form of shaped charge we probably got. Anyway, I said I was going to research the inclined armor belt scheme. Now we could speed that up, but then I wouldn't have any naval experience left to really for the refit. So I will just do the we'll just do the regular one, and we are going to use. Which one did I assign? Hang on. On the on the, not the Admiral Shakov, on the Ismails. I think we were going to go with the Balsky Zavod, yeah. So that's the one we'll be using. And the research here, there. Okay, so that's going to take 95 days. Then we can look into potentially a refit of the Ismails. And until then, we just hanging back and shooting down a German aircraft where possible. Okay, we're going to get the rest of the fighters up in the air. So now we have a good, we're developing a relatively good mission efficiency. And we're still clear shooting down the last remnants over Ukraine. They are quite busy in the Baltics bombing, but other than that, not much happening along the front lines. And hopefully that gives us finally an option to get through the fortifications here. All right, we've got a Dux, which is used for the aircraft. Okay, so that's for fighters. There we have a reliability, speed, or okay. So it's always the choice. Which way do we want to skew that? What's the base reliability then? Let's have a quick look on the I-185A, which has a reliability of, I have no clue. Does it say anywhere? Supply use, weight, thrust, nope. Do we get it here? Don't see. Oh, there it is, 84%. Okay, so reliability is probably not a bad factor to take because we are. So the internal component isolation. Let's preserve the fighters we have, and yeah, we'll upgrade that by hand because I need to do that anyway. And we keep shooting down German aces as well, which is always welcome. So we've got the I-185A, and we get that upgrade, which is, oh, there it is. Okay, I've just missed it. Which is get that done. And then we can get, we need to close that, open that again, otherwise it won't work. And get the I-185S, okay, I take it, into production. There we go. All right, so for more battles in the Atlantic, any more German ships in the area? Not really. How's it looking here? Yeah, the French Republic, the young French Republic, is rapidly disintegrating with a massive counterattack with Britain taking control until the French syndical. That might be why Guderian has been pulled off, honestly, to push that back. So we might actually have a breather here. However, Portugal, the Entente in Portugal is breaking out significantly against the Spanish Socialist Republic. And Middle Africa has undone a lot of the gains that the Persian troops have made. And there is a bit of a risk of our allies being cut off here. But honestly, I'll leave that to them. We cannot spare any troops right now because everything we have is deployed along the lines of contact here. So there are not enough troops available for foreign expeditions as we move into April, and are still seeing. Okay, now we're starting to see the Fifth Army coming in force, and I think that is going to make a bit of a difference. Meanwhile, bad news from Spain. The fall of Barcelona. Yeah, the German Empire has broken through. Zaragoza has fallen, Barcelona has fallen. Reports from Barcelona confirm that the Spanish city has been captured by advancing German troops after pitched fights across the Sierra de Colserola mountain range. Spanish forces put up stiff resistance, hoping to delay the German forces as long as possible, but were eventually beaten back. There were reports of long urban fights through the Gothic quarter at Barcelona and sparse fighting along the Barcelonan Riviera. The same Riviera was the site of a long and luxurious parade by German troops as they marched along the sunny beaches, a clear symbol that the German Empire has taken control of the Catalonian city. So a repeat of the Spanish Civil War, I'd say, almost. Only this time it's syndicalists sandwiched between encroaching or rapidly breaking through, by the looks of it, Entente troops and German troops in the north. So fluid front lines in Western Europe. The war isn't won there yet, but for us, that's relatively few. For us, we might actually redeploy the fighters north there if they're all fighting us here. How are we trading? 1 to 3. 1 to 3 is not bad. We may actually, we'll leave them here for now. But what we can do is we can get the old biplanes back into action now that we have dealt with the air situation. All right, front lines are holding so far. Sporadic attacks from Allied troops are getting nowhere, obviously, and the overall situation is still, especially with support equipment, is still poor. And we are now, okay, they've withdrawn the bombers, and they're concentrating the bombers now over Belarus, which means we're challenging once again enemy aircraft over Belarus. We're still trading favorably, but now with the as the German mission efficiency is going to tick up after the deployment. If they keep shifting the bombers around, that is hurting their mission efficiency quite a bit. And so that actually works in our favor, but it does cost us the occasional. Train. How are we on trains? We're actually losing more trains than we're starting to lose trains here. So that is going to become an issue that we will need to deal with. Okay, heavy attack here against the front lines, but I think we can hold that. And we have a special project available. What do we got? We've got what is that? A multi-charge large caliber gun. Oh, this is, I see what that is. Yeah, this is like the, it's like the was it the V3 project that they were using to effectively launch some sort of early railgun that they were using to launch projectiles across Project God of War. Okay, that would. It's a building. It's a multi-charge large caliber gun. So operating on the principle of multiple charge propulsion. Okay, so that's it's like a chemical railgun. So instead of using magnets and magnetic propulsion of a projectile to high speeds, they're using chemical charges, successive chemical charges, to boost a projectile for extreme range, and we could use that. We could use that to lob shells at the Germans at long range. I'm actually keen to do the land cruiser eventually, so I might actually that's going to need 3. I might actually save these up for now. So we'll dismiss that. We're short on support equipment for garrisons, but it's minor. That's why I'm not backing off on the martial law, because we need support equipment for garrisoning. So that's part of the problem there, really. But how are we getting through? I mean, when the factories can't be used to hold the lines near Odessa, then they'll be used elsewhere, I believe. So we should eventually make our way through the fortification works here. With Russian men fighting for the fate of the motherland, women remain in support duties, chiefly staffing hospitals and radio stations. There have been rising voices promoting the idea of a new women's military unit in the legacy of Maria Bokaryova's Women's Battalion of Death. We call them the Sisters of Battle. Despite the failures of the unit, it continues to inspire some more radical politicians within our party. Wrangel reported that under pressure from politicians, he has organized the separate Women's Volunteer Infantry Brigade. But in the meantime, he established strict physical standards and sent them to the rear for military training, which, in his words, God no, they will need. Piotr Wrangel, at the last meeting with the chairman minister, categorically refused to send women to the front line, instead preferring to keep them in support role. For now, we have several options for how to resolve the issue. allowed a separate women's volunteer infantry brigade to complete their training and send it to the front line, regardless of the warnings of the military experts that this is a terrible idea. Reassign women to the support personnel, which will relieve men from these positions, or simply outright admit that women have no place near the front lines and should contribute to the war effort in the factories instead. I was almost expecting to say by having more babies, but in the factories instead. So this would allow women to become military pilots. Now there is precedence for this. The famous night witches during the Second World War were flying biplanes, I believe, and very low sound biplanes, and doing night bombing runs. They were all women pilots. So I'm not opposed against that. We could expand their auxiliary role. This would significantly improve the field hospitals. That I am actually very much in favor of. Or we could just tell them to sod off. So I don't think we should tell them to sod off. I do like the pilots allowed to become military pilots. But the problem isn't the shortage of pilots. The problem is a shortage of aircraft. So this still actually does that. So women still does that. Yeah, well, I'm taking the field hospitals, because right now, so we will look at that. Where are we? So right now the field hospitals are going to have minus 25% experience loss. And do we see the trickle back? 30% trickle back and minus 25% experience loss. So if we do that, I'm assuming that is multiplicative, not additive, because that would be significant. But let's try. So we allow women into aircraft and military auxiliary roles, freeing up the men for frontline combat, and that then gets us to 25 and 30%. Wasn't it the same just before? I'm not sure. Anyway, I prefer that. I prefer the improved field hospitals. Maybe it needs some time to trickle back. I prefer the improved field hospitals for these sort of things. Okay, lines near Odessa are still under significant assault here. Von Manstein has taken over from Guderian, probably to lead the smaller detachment that is fighting here together with the Austrians. And they are not giving up here, so we are getting significant. No, I need these here on the lines, please. We are getting, we're taking significant pushback from these assaults. So the heaviest assaults are still landing near Odessa, and bringing the divisions back into the field is an important part of that. What I want to avoid, and this is happening, of course, is that these go where they're not needed, because we already have enough of these in Odessa. I want them over here. So I do actually have to micromanage these quite a bit, just to make sure that these divisions return to the front lines where they are actually required. Okay, rest of the line seems to be holding. Brest-Litovsk is holding, and everywhere else we're building up the front lines here. We do have a fair amount of troops along the line here now, with the 10th Army's arrival. I might be tempted. It's April. What is the status of the tank divisions? We're not yet at 90%. I was kind of hoping that we would get to 90% before I'm going to run another assault. But we could. Do we have supply at Kaunas? We probably do. So what we could do, I think, that is, we have an opportunity here, because the defenses near Kaunas are relatively weak, the German defenses. So what we could do is, without we run a bit of a surprise attack. So without any planning, I will simply send the 6th Army in to see if we can break out at Kaunas and make a mad dash towards Memel, because I think we have the forces here to to assault the Germans across the lines and hold them in place, and that would significantly cut off the north. Ever since the Weltkrieg started, the worldwide demand for rubber skyrocketed, mainly caused by increased vehicle and plane production. Russia could not escape this trend and, in fact, was hit harder than others. With the global war catching up on the main rubber producers, unreliable imports from the east and constant warfare on the Baltic and Black Seas in the west, any import of rubber was either hard or nearly impossible. Fortunately for us, one solution to the issue was beginning to develop in the Alash steppes. Taraxacum coxsagis, also known as Russian dandelion, is a plant discovered in the 1930s by a group of Russian scientists interested in new rubber opportunities. A dandelion. It was noted that sap produced by the roots of this plant contained up to 20% natural rubber. While before the Weltkrieg any research on this topic was limited, the current situation changed the matter drastically, and soon large-scale plantations were created deep in the Kyrgyz steppe. While mainly Taraxacum was cultivated, other subspecies were quickly introduced as well. The rubber yield from the plantations, however, was not enough to make up for the costs of cultivation. That is without even considering the fact that demand is constantly increasing despite a shortage of supply. But with no other viable option until the sea clears, the initiative continues to expand. Okay, so we get three free rubber production. That's good news. How are we actually on? How are we doing here? That means we can probably, we've got actually sufficient rubber that we don't need to trade with India anymore for rubber. Talking about trade, I think the next thing I'm going to do is get the Russo-Indian trade and the Anglo-Russian trade underway, while the Britons, but first with the Indians is the kind of primary objective. All right. So while we are desperately holding the Odessa lines, I think it's time for a bit of a localized counterattack. And I'm going to bring we've got a new railway gun completed. I'm going to bring that along towards the Kaunas front while we give the marching orders to General Stefan's tank divisions, and we will see if we can surprise the Germans here, who have been lulled a little bit into a false sense of security after the heavy attacks from Guderian in the north. We just have to make sure that we're holding the lines near Odessa and that they not get stripped. But so far, the war in Odessa has been very costly. For the enemy, and that means with the conspicuous absence of Guderian's tanks, probably busy dealing with the British outbreak. Oh my gosh, they have completely broken out in France. They've retaken Lyon, Montpellier. Italy has taken over control over Marseille and Nice. Yeah, the German troops in Spain are actually starting to be at risk of being cut off by this, by the collapse of the new French Republic there. So that's fascinating. But we will see. We will see if we can surprise them a little bit here, the Germans in the north, by launching a full-on assault. Meanwhile, in Africa, the situation isn't quite as good as we had hoped for, because Persia has given ground across the Upper Nile quite significantly, and the Republic of South Africa has joined the Reichspakt, which means that Reichspakt control over the southern part of Africa is now pretty complete. And that means that Persia might eventually struggle and require further Russian assistance. But we are currently, and how does the air situation? Okay, we're going to support that. So we'll quietly, we'll relaunch the air campaign over the Baltic states, and but we do have to maintain the fighters in Ukraine. But we'll relaunch the air campaign over the Baltic states, and that should not take too long. And with that, obviously South Africa is now in the war against us. But I think we can suppress the German air cover, which also has been surprisingly light. And we'll see if we can break through here before the Germans notice. Now we do have to, at the same time, micromanage the front and the south here, where the assaults are. Okay, that now von Manstein is sending everything he's got. He's got 4 tank divisions. He's sending everything he's got into the lines here, trying to break the front, and that we have to keep a close eye on to make sure that they're not getting through there, because we're now it's a gambit. We've got 8 tank divisions, and the basic heavy battery is research. We've got eight tank divisions for a rapid breach of the German defenses and a push towards Memel to collapse the northern front and inflict a painful defeat to the Germans. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we can hold the line. And they have some reinforcements here. That we can hold the line at Odessa. That is critical, because they are under fierce pressure at this point. So that needs to hold, and we don't have any reserves for a localized counterattack. But we're going to make the gambit in the next episode. For now, I'm just going to see what else we can research. That's still a little bit ahead of time. I don't have the factories to build mechanized equipment anyway. We do need to. That's still ahead of time. I would love better recon. We do have a research bonus for the full metal airframe, but currently not really needing that. We do getting better radar stations up would be nice as well. The advanced radio as well would be very good to have. I still need the advanced equipment conversion. These are still a little bit too far ahead of time. We're working on the assembly line production. I could also get the advanced fire control system. I think that's one we'll do, because that is going to align with the inclined armor belt scheme, and will allow for a slightly better refit of the heavy forces in the Black Sea. They have 120 divisions now concentrated near Odessa. So yeah, they're throwing everything they've got against the lines here, and I might need a few more troops, to be honest. How's the supply status? Some of them have anti-tank guns, but most of them don't actually have any anti-tank guns at this point. So we could probably deploy one division here. We'll deploy this one, and that division is going to join the 12th Army. So we'll assign them there, and we'll rush the new recruits towards the front line, get them moving towards Odessa, and then they can join the front lines in the desperate fight to hold Odessa, to hold the lines near Odessa, while we are making a gambit of sending the somewhat rested and reinforced 6th Army into a surprise mobile attack against Memel. If we can take Memel and cut off the German divisions in the north, that is going to be a full field army that's going to be lost there, and that is going to be a very painful defeat for Germany. Meanwhile, Germany has to put out fires elsewhere, as the syndicalists are pushing back into the French Republic, and Spain is still standing despite their best efforts. The war in Africa might get interesting, and we will... who's in the Reichspakt? That's the co-prosperity sphere. And Burma, the war against China in Burma isn't going anywhere, and the Japanese still haven't launched any naval landings. So I'm almost suspecting that Japan is preparing for a massive naval landing behind enemy lines here, and bringing in crazy amounts of troops along the coastline, because they seem to have defeated German East Asia on the naval side. And that means that would change the logic in the war in China quite significantly.